All right. You guys ready? My name is Mike. I'm here with Clay and Jacob in the back, and we're on the community solar team here at Nexamp. We just want to thank all you for coming out tonight. I know everyone's busy. And tonight what we're going to do is basically I'll give a 10-minute presentation. At the end of that, I'll open up the floor. And if you guys have any questions, Jacob and I will answer those for you. And then at the end of that, if you still have some specific questions about an individual situation, we'll all be sitting around the room and can take those for you. And we'll have contracts and paperwork we can all fill out if you do end up being interested in the program. So why don't we get started here? The first thing, why are we here? I'm sure a lot of you guys received this letter in the mail, and it was telling you a little bit about the history of us here in Lunenburg. We did have a project that we came here to give a presentation like this about in the spring, and that project is located at the Settlers Crossing Golf Course. It filled up quite quickly, and it actually ended up overflowing into a wait list. There are some people here that are on that wait list. The first thing I wanted to say about the wait list is if you are currently on that wait list and you signed a contract with us, you automatically will have a place in this new opening on the farm in Fitchburg. So you can rest easy knowing you're good to go. There's also quite a bit of room for additional customers. That's why we're here, to kind of help explain everything for you. I'll start off by giving you a little bit of history about Nexamp. If you don't know, our company was founded in 2007 by a couple of Army vets. They came back from abroad and they had two main goals. They wanted to increase renewable energy in the States, and also they were interested in having a more secure energy source, a domestic source that didn't rely on kind of outside forces. And so they started Nexamp, and we're doing a lot of different renewable energy projects at first, but in the last 5 to 7 years, we've really narrowed down to community solar as our main project. It's kind of our bread and butter. As you can see, we have more than 50 projects in Massachusetts. The majority of those are now live producing credits, and so we're happy to be doing that here in Lunenburg as well. This is kind of our motto, building the future of energy so it's clean, simple, and accessible. The reason that community solar helps us do this is because it kind of breaks down a lot of the barriers that used to be in place if you wanted to be involved in solar energy. These are a lot of the common ones. They're very high upfront costs. If you want to put solar panels on your roof, sometimes $10,000, $15,000, up to $30,000. There were rules about the angle of the roof, if you were getting enough sunlight, and these kind of things prevented people from participating. And of course, renting and owning was an issue. What's nice about our program, Community Solar, is that you don't have these barriers. So there are no upfront costs, there are no upfront investments. There are not long-term contracts. It's a month-to-month contract with our program. And of course, we are not making any changes to your home, the roof, or your property. So if you're a renter, owner, nonprofit, or business, you're all eligible. We also do want people to know that we are constantly making sure that we're kind of leading the way and staying ahead on eco-friendly ideas. You can see here we have a farm in New York where we're now having sheep grazing on it to take care of the actual grass growth instead of emitting more CO2 into the atmosphere by using machinery. This has worked out great in New York and is in the process of being expanded to our other farms in Massachusetts, Maryland, and Illinois. We also use pollinator-friendly vegetation on our farms so that we're not disrupting sort of the natural ecosystems where the farm was, of course, before the farm existed. The last important part here is that we have Nexamp's Energy Center. What this is, it's a group of people that monitor all the farms 24/7. And so if there are any issues with any of the panels or cells on those panels, we can get those fixed in almost real time. And so that allows us to really maximize the amount of energy generated on our farms all the time. So how does community solar work? We'll give a kind of a high-level description here. As you can see, we build these large solar farms, and they feed the energy directly into the utility grid. So in this case, it goes directly into Unitil's grid. You'll notice that there's no change to the actual residence of the person who signed up. You have the same wires that come into your house now. We're not making any changes to your property. The change for you is simply that you're subscribed to our program. So we're taking a look at how much electricity you're using over the year, and importantly, how much you're paying for that. So if you're spending, let's say, $1,000 a year on your electricity, we're going to allocate the number of panels on this farm that'll produce an amount of solar credits very similar to that. So we're going to try to produce around $900 to $1,000 of solar credit for you. You're guaranteed 15% off every one of those dollars of solar credits. So if we're able to do that accurately in the situation I mentioned, if you, for example, had that $1,000 of electricity costs and we produced $1,000 of solar credits, you're only paying us $850 for those credits, which means you would save $150 in that scenario. So just to reiterate some of the key points with the actual community solar program, you are guaranteed 15% off of every solar credit that we produce for you. You do remain with Unitil, so there's no changes on your property. There's no installations, there's no upfront cost, and there is also not a credit check if you want to be a customer with the program. So this is, people are very interested in how this kind of affects you on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis. So this is how it kind of changes from your perspective. You get your Unitil bill like you do now, and there's just one new line item here at the bottom. And that line item is a negative number. It reflects the credits that have been produced by your allocation on the farm. So if, for example, you had a $100 Unitil bill and we produced $100 of solar credits, you would see negative $100 here at the bottom. That would offset your costs. And so you would actually have a balance due to Unitil of 0 that month. Because we saved that $100 of credits for you, we produced those credits, and you get that 15% discount, you would then just pay us $85. So instead of paying Unitil the $100, you're paying us $85, saving you $15 that month. So this is the invoice you'd receive from us, and as I mentioned, this would be exactly 15% less than whatever that negative number at the bottom of your Unitil bill was. So this is definitely one of the most important slides and something that's important to understand. The credits produced from your allocation of the farm, they are produced seasonally. So as you might suspect, more credits are produced in the summer than in the winter. You can see here with the red bars, these are credit production, and this is kind of a typical customer's usage here in the orange. And so you'll notice that during the summer, there are actually more credits produced than you need that month. What happens is any credits that are produced that you don't use stay in your account, they do not expire, and they roll over month to month until they're applied. And I'll show you here kind of an example of how this works. Those extra credits move down here to when you don't have enough credits to cover your winter bill. And so this is how we're able to kind of smooth the savings across the year and try to get you as close as we can to that 15% off your entire electricity bill. So that's the seasonal crediting. What customers can expect, as I mentioned, is just to pay a little bit more in the summer months and then significantly less in the winter months. So if you're a customer who is estimated to save, let's say, $200 over the year, you're going to see the majority of those savings in these months here and these months here. And then for the months here in the summer, you're likely going to pay a little bit more than you're currently paying during those months. So that is just kind of the high-level explanation of the program, but we definitely want to make sure we answer all of your questions, both in a general session and individually when we're around the room. So does anyone have any questions about some of the things we talked about here or anything else kind of related to the program?
I can ask you a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our light bill is never over 85 or less, never over 100.
Okay.
So would we benefit from this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the minimum amount is quite low. I mean, basically what you can think about is how much you're paying over the year. So you're saying between 85 and 100. So maybe you're spending, close to my example I used, maybe $1,000 a year on your electricity. And so anticipated savings number for someone in that range would probably be around $150 over the year. So, a lot of people find that to be a good enough savings number, and they like the fact that they're also supporting clean energy in the state, but that's obviously completely up to you guys, what you think is a good number is to make it worth joining the program.
I noted you had said that during the summer months, you tend to generate a little more from the panel.
Yes.
But yet, you say that our savings are on either end of it and not
right.
Where you make more?
Absolutely. So it's counterintuitive. So more of the credits are produced in the summer. But because all those credits are not used then, they stay in your account. and they roll over each month until they're needed, which typically happens in the winter when the farm's not producing enough. So what ends up happening is because you are paying for those credits when they're produced, you're paying more in the summer, and then in the winter, a lot of these credits are being applied to your bill, and so maybe you're paying $10, $15 more per month in the summer, and then you're seeing $40 to $50 savings per month in the winter. So that's how it averages out. But yeah, it doesn't. At first, you kind of think you'd actually save more in the summer. So, yeah.
And then if we notice,
Oh, it's okay.
if we notice that we weren't, benefiting
Sure.
from this, you can quit anytime? or-
Yeah. So this is a great question. This is important, and this actually also pertains to if you think that the credits we're producing are not matching what you're using closely enough. Every 6 months, we can change that allocation for you to get it closer. And if you do want to leave the program, there is no penalty for canceling. Every 6 months, there is a date when you can leave the program. So if you decide to quit and it's 1 month before that, you would have to wait 1 month. If it was a couple weeks after that date, unfortunately, the longest you could wait is 6 months. So if it's something you think you're going to do, you would just want to give us as much notice as you can. But yes, there's no penalty for that. You don't actually pay us a fee for canceling.
So what happens if you sell your house? What if you sell your house, you want to sell your house, and you have that, you still have 5 months you have to wait? How does that work?
Yeah, so if you're moving or you're selling your house, you'll close your Unitil account. That'll effectively cease service with us because we won't have anywhere to allocate those credits to, and we're never going to charge you for credits that never appeared on your bill.
Okay.
So that would effectively cease service with us.
Okay.
I think someone behind you had a question.
So you said that we would be paying you per month. Will we also be paying something to Unitil? I mean, the bill's broken down to delivery charges and electric supplier service. Are we still going to be paying something to Unitil? So every month we're going to be making 2 payments, one to you and one to Unitil?
Yeah, it's a great question. So actually, the credits we produce can cover the entire bill, the entire Unitil bill. So if we're able to produce enough credits to cover it, you would not have to pay both parties. The only situation where you would actually have to make 2 payments is if your bill was higher than the credits we produced. And that's why we try to avoid by having those extra credits produced in the summer, but it is possible. So in a scenario where you had an $100 bill, but we only produced $90 of solar credits, for example, that $10 gap that we were unable to cover, you would pay to Unitil, and then you would save the 15% on the $90 of credit we had produced for you. Does that make sense? Well.
And the other way around, if you oversize it, right, then you only charge for what you use, right?
No, so this is the important thing. In the summer, those months, if there's those credits that are above and beyond what you use,
Right.
you are paying for them the month they're produced. That's why there usually are 3 to 4 months in the summer where you might be paying actually more than you would have if you were not on the program. What happens, though, is those credits that are above and beyond what you used, you don't lose those. They don't expire, they stay in your account, and then when the winter months come, in a situation where, as I just mentioned, let's say we only produce $90 of credit, but you have an $100 bill, that $10 gap, you would not have to pay Unitil, because you have credits left over from the summer that come in and fill that gap.
And then roll over from year to year?
Yes, yeah, those are good for, they don't expire and they roll over month to month.
So if you're going live in January, that means we're going to be paying more for our bills up until the summer.
So, so what should happen is this farm is anticipated to go live in January. It will actually be the situation, let me go back here, where it will likely look a little bit like this at the beginning of your time with us. So we're probably not going to produce enough credits to cover your whole bill for a couple months. So it might look like the situation you mentioned, where you have a $100 bill, but we only produce $90 of credit, and you're paying them, Unitil $10, and then us $90 minus 15%. So for a couple months, it'll be like that. Once the summer comes around, it should pick up, and then you'll get into kind of the rhythm of what I'm discussing, where you're paying a little more in the summer, you're saving significantly in the winter, and then you see that yearly savings number of whatever your anticipated savings is. Yep.
For the people that are already using your service, Do you find that in reality, those people are actually saving 15%, or is it something less?
Yeah, customers typically, because we're going to look at your total annual cost, and we're going to aim to cover that, but we aren't going to try to cover it 100%. We'll go a little bit conservatively because we don't want you to end up with a bunch of excess credits that are never going to be applied. And so people tend to save about 1 month's worth of an average electricity bill. So whatever that is for you, whether it's $100 or $300, that's what we typically see. We just pulled some numbers, so I know that in Massachusetts, our average savings per customer is about, I think it's $216, $226, something like that, per year, across all of the utilities.
In that 216 or whatever dollars, what percentage of those people's bills is that amount?
We don't have that number because we don't pull all of the utility numbers on what they actually end up paying.
But it's actually less than 15%.
It'd probably be a little less than 15 of your total annual cost, but it is always 15% on the credits that we do provide you.
Yeah, that's an important thing to understand. That's why we always say up to 15% in a situation where if you had $1,000 of cost, let's say over the year, and we ended up producing $975 of credit, you're not going to be saving the 15% on that small $25 we didn't cover. So you're always guaranteed the 15 on every credit we produce. Yep.
My understanding is that Unitil buys the kilowatt hours from suppliers, whoever they may be. You're another supplier to Unitil, and they set a price in terms of kilowatt per hour. How do you determine what the price is for a kilowatt per hour? Is it the same as the contract that Unitil has for other suppliers? How does that work?
Yeah, so this is actually an important distinction. We are actually not an energy supplier. So it is the case that a lot of suppliers, they have a specific rate, you're paying that rate per kilowatt hour. Community solar is a different type of program. So whichever supplier you're using, if you're on Unitil's standard rate, or if you're on a community aggregate getting a different rate, you will pay the same rate per kilowatt hour. We're actually offsetting the dollar amount at the end of your bill. So
But
if
is
you...
your rate the same or better than what they're currently charging Unitil? In other words, I'm curious as to how your charge relates to the current charge in Unitil.
Yeah, so what I would say there is basically, when all of the charges on your bill, if you're signed up with us, those are going to stay the exact same. We're not actually changing anything you would be charged by Unitil, so we're not charging you a different rate at all. We're really, I would say just think of it as each month we're going to pay part of your Unitil bill for you, and you're paying us back minus 15%. But we're not actually charging you a per kilowatt hour rate or anything like that. We're just providing you with a credit to your bill, and you're paying us back at the 15% discount.
My understanding maybe, and this is why I'm confused, is that you're basically charging the same rate that exists today per kilowatt hour, but you're taking 15% off of that amount so that we get a better price. Is that the way it works? I'm confused.
Well, yeah, no, it's a little hard to explain because we're not charging anything per kilowatt hour, if that makes sense. So you're still paying the same amount per kilowatt hour to your supplier, whoever that is. We look at the tail end of that process, so what are you guys paying in basic service fees and transmission fees, as you mentioned, delivery and supply, your total bill, and we're going to be offsetting that dollar number. So whichever rate you're paying currently to your supplier, you will stay on that rate. And one nice feature of the program actually is if you want to change that rate, that's okay. That doesn't affect your relationship with us. Unless the rate is quite a bit different, we would want to change our allocation so that we're accurately offsetting the dollar amount. But you can stay with the supplier that you're on and your rate's going to remain the same.
Let me make it a little simpler. If I'm paying $100 a month today and I used you instead, what would I be paying per month?
Oh, so that depends on if we produced $100 of credits, you would pay $85. You would pay Unitil
So
$0.
I would pay 85.
You'd pay $85 to us, yeah.
So I would save 15% over what Unitil is charging today is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, so the key is just as long as the credits match up. So I just, we make that clear, the 100 to 100. If that month, for example, you had a $100 bill and we produced $90 of credit.
I understand.
Yeah, you'd say 15 off the 90. But you're right, yes.
My amount is moving, but the billing is 15%. We're going to get basically billed from Unitil for the supplier charge 15% less. So in other words, if I'm paying $100 a month to Unitil, let's say it's flat,
Okay.
and you pay 15% less, then my bill is only 15% less for the kilowatt per hour
No,
charge if they produce it. Is that correct?
No, so we're not, you can continue to use whichever supplier you would like and still be signed up with us. We're not replacing that supplier at all. But I'm happy to go over this in some more detail with you after. I just want to make sure we have time for everyone's questions.
I don't think you're answering my question.
Sure.
Today,
Mm-hmm.
I pay a total bill, let's say of $100.
Okay.
And I go with you, I'm not going to pay $85, I'm paying just 85. I'm saving 15% of the kilowatt hours that they buy. Is that correct? So I'm not going to pay 100.
So, yeah, the important thing is if you were not, it's actually, you're still, quote unquote, owe Unitil $100 when you're our customer. What happens is because we're offsetting that $100 with our credits, you then don't have to pay them that $100 and you pay us $85. So we're not changing the actual kilowatt hour rate that you're paying them on your bill.
I understand that. I'm asking you a different question.
Okay.
If my total bill from Unitil is $100, and we bring you on board, and I like your idea, and I think it's a wonderful thing. Could you just throw out a number? Because it's not 15% off the 100 if I pay 100 a month for the bill from Unitil, because Unitil has other charges in there.
Oh, we offset the entire bill.
Huh?
For those other charges you're talking about are included in what we can offset. So the transmission fee, basic service fee, delivery supply, every number that you see on this bill,
So
every number you see on this bill, we can offset.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I apologize if I was not clear. Yeah.
15% off is off the total bill.
Total bill, yeah, absolutely. I apologize if I wasn't clear about that.
So how come you don't produce so that you can cover every month with 100% of credit?
So let me pull this up. Because you are paying for the credits produced, if we overproduced every single month, you would end up paying us, you would not be saving with the program. You would end up paying us much more than you're actually using every month. And so it wouldn't be a benefit to you guys. So the way this works is, this is a way for, since we can't control the sun, we know it's producing more in the summer, it's a way to still produce those credits, but apply them into the winter bill so that you can save as close to evenly as we can get over the entire year. Because we really do want to try to save you 15% exactly over the year. And so this is really the only way to do it, just because we can't change how the sun produces the credits.
I would just add to that, so let's say that we're estimating let's just use the example from before, $1,000 a year with the utility, and let's say, we're trying to cover $900 of that. That's because you might be gone for a month, or we know your costs are going to vary. You aren't really using $1,000 every single year necessarily, and we know that there's variation with the weather and so on. So that's why we build in that little bit of a buffer, because we don't want you to end up with, at the end of the year, you should be maybe overproducing in the summer and then using it in the winter. But we don't want you to be carrying all these excess credits into the summer. It's really not advantageous for you.
So how do you estimate what you're going to allow per customer?
You mean
going off of a bill?
Yeah, so we're looking at your total annual cost.
Yeah.
So do you take into consideration family changes and all kinds of
Yeah, so that is something.
The pool, the jacuzzi.
Yeah, so this is
all
something
of that.
definitely, if there are, we do run into this a lot, people will say, you know,
That's what I'm talking
I had some kids
about.
living.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, this is actually really important. So because we can see the full year's usage, unless you're getting a new one, we should be already factoring that into the analysis. So if you had, let's say, a hot tub last year, that's already factored into your bill because we see the full year's usage when we get your Unitil bill. And we basically are going to look at your Unitil bill so we can see all the months of usage over the past year. But it is important, if something does change significantly in your life, you definitely would want to let us know. If you got a hot tub or you had kids living with you.
And then we have the hot tub
Yeah.
thereafter.
Yeah, I've had where kids were living at home and then moved to school. These are definitely things where it might change, and you want to let us know so we can make sure we're staying
And we
accurate.
can change that allocation. So we might say, okay, you know, this is what your cost looked like over the past 12 months, and you might say, okay, I'm buying an electric car in the next 6 months, my usage is going to go up. So you'll just let us know, and we'll check in with you, you know, around that time and see, okay, well, maybe we need to increase your allocation, or if you're selling an electric car, we might need to decrease your allocation. And we can make those changes again every 6 months,
So
and there's
we
no
need
type
to
of
let
fee
you
or
know
penalty.
this as-
Yes.
If
Yeah.
there's some type of
By
change in your
phone call?
usage, you can phone or email. We're happy to help there.
So, and I've looked up a lot of stuff online, you know, on Nexamp, and I honestly did not find anything negative. I'm not a plant, really, I'm not. So, you know, one guy had a bill that is a big deal. Okay, so I didn't find a lot. But I'm curious on how Nexamp makes its money. Obviously, you know, when somebody comes in and say, hey, I'm going to pay 50% of your bill, kind of like puts off some red flags, right? So, I mean, it sounds like a great program, and it makes complete sense in theory, but, I mean, how do you guys make your money? Do you make it off from...
Sure. Yeah, that's a question we get a lot because of, you know, that is people's reaction to be a little skeptical of it. We make money in a couple different ways. At the end of the day, you know, we're going to put $1 of credit, let's say, onto your bill, and you're paying us 85 cents for that. At a baseline level, it's not costing us 85 cents to produce that $1 of electricity. That's because of the economics of solar, the way that the efficiency of the panels have improved, and the way that the electricity is valued. This is a state-run program, so it's regulated by the state, and there are incentives for us to build these projects and you know, produce clean energy for the grid as well. So we are incentivized by the state, and then at the end of the day, you know, sure, we're giving you $100 to your Unitil bill, but you are paying us that $85, and so we are, you know, that is revenue to us. Yeah.
So if you're creating more credits in the summer, usually the electricity bill is more expensive in the summer as well. So you're kind of paying more money in the summer, or you're going to wash out in the winter months minus 50%, that's what you're doing?
So that'll depend a little bit. What we typically see, a lot of people we talk to, they have higher winter costs, and so if you have higher winter costs, you'll spend a little bit more with the program in the summer and see the savings in the winter. If you have higher summer costs, so your costs kind of mirror, you know, solar production, you're really going to see pretty even savings year round. It's just what we typically see is higher winter costs. But if you have higher summer costs, you'll really kind of see the savings distributed throughout the year.
So for higher summer costs, when do you see the benefit?
You'll see the
It
benefit
should be throughout the year, yeah.
Because in that graph, it's going to much more evenly match what's going on. And so we'll be offsetting most to all of your bill each month. You shouldn't be carrying too much credit over into the winter in that case.
And then how you manage the fee changes or the delivery changes that Unitil has?
Yes, so...
They change the price constantly, so how do you handle that?
Right, so when we produce electricity, it goes into the grid, and it's valued, and we're allocating you some of that value. That value shifts, how it's valued shifts a little bit month to month. That's regulated throughout the program by the state, and with utility and so on. And so, let's say energy prices doubled, you know, you're using the same amount of energy, but next year you're paying double for it. Your share of the farm will become double as valuable. So your same allocation that we expected to produce $900 over the year would be producing $1,800 over the year about. So the value of our electricity mirrors the cost with Unitil as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you ever run into a situation where somebody, another competitor for solar comes in and says, gee, Nexamp is using you now, we can beat Nexamp. How does that work? Is it a contract with Unitil? What's the mechanism for dealing with that?
So you mean in the situation where Unitil might have to choose between two providers?
No, somebody went up to Unitil and said, I can do it cheaper.
Got it.
What does
Yeah, so
Unitil do?
these are, because this is state regulated, the discount that we're talking about is guaranteed for the entire life of the farm, and so it's 20 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 20 years. After 20 years, they I guess technically could renegotiate contracts, but you're guaranteed for at least those 20 years. And because we do have, more than, I think, 4 farms now in the Unitil territory, I think, things seem to be going pretty well. But yeah, 20 years from now, that is a possibility. But it is guaranteed for that long.
In terms of like if another competitor is trying to come in and do other community solar farms, that can happen. Like we have several farms in Unitil, so we have one in Lunenburg, we have one in Fitchburg. That's allowed, that's okay. The program terms might just vary program to program.
Yeah, and the good news is in all the states that I also help people sign up for farms in New York, we do have the highest discount rate in the states that we operate in. So that's another reason why it's not a huge problem, is because we are giving a better discount rate.
Can you pass this program on if you were selling your house to somebody and say, you let Nexamp know I'm selling my house, the new buyer wants to take it, so there's no 6 months?
The grandfather did.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So the agreement, like your relationship with the program is really tied to your account number. So like if you sold your house, you would be like cease in service with us. If you spoke to the new buyer and they're interested, sure, they can certainly take your spot in the farm. That's happened before. But they may be, because we'll have to submit a new account number and get them all signed up, they may be up to that 6-month delay. Again, it might be less, but that's really what it would be. But they can certainly take your place if they wanted to do so.
What if you buy a new house in that same area? You can't transfer those credits to your new house?
You can transfer service over there. Again, because of how the account numbers work and how the utilities, because it's on a 6-month cycle, and that's just something that's mandated by the state. In other states it's different, it's more frequent. You may be at that gap to get new service in your new house.
As long as it's Unitil.
If you're in
Unitil, yeah. Yes, you might have to wait a couple months, but an allocation size similar to what you had previously could be, you could keep that and add it at the new place, yes.
What are the 6-month dates?
I believe they're rolling from the start of the farm. So if the farm does go live as anticipated January 1st, then 6 months from then would be the new date. But we would definitely reach out and let you know what those are when the farm goes live.
Is there from what I understand, that as the panels get older, they're not nearly as efficient as they are when they're new. Is that going to affect the 20-year lifespan or guarantee that it's not going to produce the credits or the points for the individual?
Gotcha.
Is that something you got to maintain?
Yeah, so we maintain all the farms. If part of that slide earlier I mentioned with our energy center, we're making sure all the panels are producing at the highest capacity they can. And so if a cell goes bad, for example, we know the day of and we can replace that or fix that. And so yeah, that 15% is guaranteed for the life of the farm.
So that's monitored.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
24/7. We have like a special team of people that have that are on site that can do that. Yeah.
So I have another question for you. So I know you don't work for Unitil. I know you're completely separate from them.
Right.
Right. Someone at the last meeting, because I was at the last meeting when they came to present this at the library, someone said it's kind of a coincidence that Unitil just jumped their prices 15%. And,
Yeah,
now,
right?
and now you guys are offering 15%. And I'm not saying you guys had anything to do with that. But so does Unitil, do they have to do this program with you? And do you pay them $100? That $100?
Yeah, so no, that's a great question. So you are correct that they do, it is state mandated that the utilities participate in these programs. It's not the case that there's any relationship between those two things. If you look at your bill, there is like, it usually is less than a cent or so that you're paying per month that supports all state-run energy programs. One portion of that cent is part of the incentives given to renewable energy companies. But yeah, it's nothing even in the realm of, close to that 15% or so, yeah.
This must be 15% to upgrade your grids and add more solar.
So yeah, oh yeah, go ahead.
I can give a plug for Nexamp if you like.
Sure.
He's not a plant.
I would just, if you want to, that's great.
We have a Nexamp project that we own at the company I work for.
Oh, okay.
In Acton. And it's been on the roof of our building for 5 years. We did it the best way, though. We bought the project. We get all the benefits.
Got it.
50%. And so the reason why this program makes sense for them and for us is that I don't want to put panels on my roof. I've got beautiful trees around my house that I have to cut down, that I'm not interested in cutting down. Otherwise, I would put a system on my roof. But the next best thing is something like this. Nexamp will make money. They're putting up the money to do the project, and they do monitor it because they have an incentive for it to run efficiently. We've had nothing but good things, with our relationship with Nexamp.
That's great.
So.
That's great to know, yeah.
Mark, one more question, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. If you...
No. So, if I do your program, which I think I'm gonna, right, you talked me into it, and say a year down the road, I want to put some solar panels on my roof, does that kick me out of this program? Will you let me do that?
Yes, that actually in Massachusetts you can actually do both. So it would change the allocation.
Right.
Because a large portion of your bill would be removed from what you're paying. We would have to change the allocation to match whatever's basically left over. So you'd have a lower allocation from us, and you would get the 15% off that lower allocation. Yeah.
But you'd be able to get out of this program within that 6-month window, and there's a good chance that if you put it on your roof, you wouldn't need this.
Yeah. So you can do. We have people that want to kind of double up. They have the panels. It's not covering their full usage, so the remaining amount that they're using, they sign up for our program, and that works perfectly. Yeah. I think maybe it's probably a pretty good time because there's 3 of us. If you do have kind of individual questions about your situation, we can. Jacob and I will answer them up front. Also, we have sort of these small cards. You can give us some information about you that we can reach out to you and help you get signed up. If it's a situation where you have your bill or you know that you want to sign up, Clayton in the back has some contracts that he can help you guys fill out. But we're all going to be here around the room. We can answer any questions you have. But we'll stay here until you're good to go. If you want to just... Yeah, we'll have one person up here if you want to come up. I think maybe I'll go back. Wait. Cool. Yeah.